Let's scoot. We've come to LA for a couple things. Disneyland, of course. But the Venice hub is nearby. We're gonna go check it out. Haven't seen the R1S. It is very close.
Pretend like
all right, we're gonna get in.
I'm driving.
Okay. Of course you are.
What are you talking about? You already have your Rivian.
Okay, climb in. Oh, of course.
Oliver, Eliza, can you get in, please?
Complete with the fighting children. That's the way it goes. Go around the other side.
Okay, it's sweet.
All right, well.
What do you guys think?
It feels an awful lot like we just got in their truck.
Get in the main seat.
But the kids still haven't figured out what to do.
No, they've decided how they can get as far away from each other as possible. Okay.
What do you think, Robin?
I love it. I mean, of course I love it. But you look at it and it's sexy, and then you see the potential to carry a lot of people and a lot of stuff.
Somebody
but
said
it's not a truck.
Somebody said they like, the one thing they don't like is that their kids can get too far away to reach them. But maybe that's a feature for the kids. Well, we're sitting on the tailgate. It holds us up pretty well.
It's not a tailgate.
It feels like a tailgate.
It feels kind of like a tailgate. It's big enough to sit on.
You know, the one thing that is different than the truck
sturdy.
is all of this is upholstered. So if like you were gonna stick a bunch of dirty stuff in here, you would just need a tarp or other things. Whereas if you just were sticking stuff in the R1T, you just stick it in there, you know?
Okay, Robin recruited another adult.
Okay, so this is
she's
scooted all the way back.
All right.
I mean, we could go.
Tell me your name.
Oh, yeah. Brandon.
Brandon, nice to meet you.
Nice to
Thanks
meet
for
Shut your door.
thanks for being our
Like
test
we could
subject.
go across town.
Yeah, this is
But
fine.
if we were in like a 5-hour road trip, we would not like each other by then.
Yeah, but I mean any car, 3 seats in the back, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
And we had to scoot this all the way back, so that means the very back seat
Could fit
is that it's
Eliza only.
minimum size, which is basically kid sized only.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's an emergency. You could fit 2 adults in
Yeah.
the back.
I mean,
Okay,
get out.
thank you.
Nice
But-
to meet
He's like,
you.
nah, I don't like you anymore already.
No, no.
Thanks, Brandon.
Just teasing you. Thank you.
All right, Ollie, you know we have to test it out.
Time, sleep.
So I'm fully stretched out. The tailgate's down, but it could be up. Still the same.
Yeah.
With a little crack in the window here, I've got my light and my speaker for entertainment. And a nice view above me with the glass roof. So the entire back row is pretty flat. It does angle up just a touch, which is actually good for sleeping. I prefer have a little bit of an angle. The button here is on the left, opens automatically. And this is released to go down. You can't sit on this tailgate. It's pretty sturdy. By the way, you can't put this down unless this gate is up. See, now it'll go down, but it wasn't going to go before while the gate was down. Okay, so push this button to open the back. Push this button here. First of all, we have plenty of storage just right here. You can pull this bit out. I'll measure these in a minute. And then underneath here, it's quite a bit more storage. That's where the spare tire would go. Now it's not a full-size spare, but this one doesn't actually have the spare with it. And of course over here you have the tie downs on either side, which are very clever. I like them. You push the button to slide them, and then you can do this. And of course you can slide them and take them out if you don't want them there. Okay, all the seats are up. I'm going to show you how to put them all down flat.
Okay.
Now, to get the third row down, we start by flipping these little levers here, and then you can flip it again to put that down flat. So flip. So it's basically a 2-flip. two-flip operation there. And to get the second row seats down from here, you can just pop this button and the other button. So super flat, it's great. Now one thing to know is you can't close those seats if somebody's sitting in the front. I'll prove it to you. Okay, Robin, hit that second button, the lower one. So it's not going, but if I get out, now hit it. So pretty smart. So now I'm gonna put the seats back up. The trick here is to make sure you put the third row back first. Now one interesting thing here, I'm gonna release this little lever. Even though I put come around here please. Even though I put this up in this little ledge position, the seat still goes back. I wasn't sure about that before. So it can either be down here or it can be up here. Same functioning as far as the seats going up. So once that's up, I can flip this back. Let's do the other side. So from here, this little lever releases it. I push it all the way back. Now these seats don't recline. They're just a set position, and there are 2 seats here, not 3. But they do have a little cup holder here next to them, which is nice, and some speakers. Now one thing I thought was interesting are these little heating elements right here. There's a little heating element that goes down in there, like a backwards L shape, and that's it, one on each side. In fact, this one has just the L, and the other side has an L plus a little extra piece right here. I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind that, but we'll find out eventually, I presume. So the second rows don't go up from the buttons, just down from the buttons. There are 2 ways to get this released. So this is in a locked position. There's a button right here. You can either push the button and release it, or you can push this here and release it. Either way. And it locks in this kind of slightly upright position. Really, to be comfortable, you're gonna need to recline it just a little bit more. And then under here is the slider. One of the things I don't love is that I can't put this other side up from here. I have to physically walk around the other side unless I can reach all the way over for that release. So the release button is here, and then I can lift it once it's released. And then once again, I'm going to set this back. This seat, as you can see, is a little bit further back than that seat. So I reach under, I can slide it all the way forward, which is clearly best for the third row, but not good for this person. But I can also slide it quite a ways back. Now, if I were in the third row and I wanted to get out, this button also has another function. Aside from unlocking it, I can push it here, and it's a little escape button, basically. So now the person can climb in and out of the third row pretty easily, and then pull it here. It's not going to smash my feet or anything. Once again, if I want to get out, boom, there we go. That's a little tight, but it does work for sure. These seats in the back do not move, they do not go up or down, and none of the seats can be removed, at least not by design. I'm sure people will figure out a way to get them out, but the front seat, the second row seats are heated. So even if you did remove them, there's going to be some electrics that are going to have to be unplugged. Plus, remember, there's a sensor here to know if there's somebody sitting, so that the button doesn't smash a person when they're sitting here. Just to be sure, there are seat belts for each of these 3 pieces here. So this seat belt for this left side, one for the middle here, and one opposite for the right side. This middle section does come down. If I can figure out how to do it. It's not super intuitive, and it's a little stiff, but it's a little lever right here, and you can release this, and then this way you have a little pass-through for skis or kids' feet or something like that. It's actually pretty convenient. One thing that's a little different is that this piece here folds down for the cup holders, and in the R1T, this folds up and there's a little tiny little storage there, but there's not one here. Don't know why. It seems like there could be. It's the same size spot. So I've flattened all the seats but one, this second row passenger seat, and it is slid forward into the middle locked position, not all the way back. And that's important to know because when you hit this, it doesn't actually close all the way down because the front of the seat hits the seat in front of it. But never fear, I can just slide it and it'll go flat. Okay, now this second row seat is all the way in the back position. I'm going to measure this here. I got my handy little tape measure. This is almost a foot, 11.5 inches straight over in the very furthest back position. Obviously, if I scoot it all the way forward, you know, it's only 3 inches here, so clearly that's not meant to be sat in. If it's in the middle locked position, it's about 6 3/4, almost 7 inches here. But even that would be, that's fine, right? I'm 6 feet tall. I could sit in here for an hour or so. Probably going to want to scoot it back like this to its longer position. This is super comfortable. And once again, I'm reclined as far back as I can go. And here is cozy. I could even take a little nap, whatever. So this is actually quite a comfortable position. Same for this seat as well, as far as the forward and backward movement and reclining. Side to side, 55, 56 inches or so. I mean, that's a rough guess because I'm not measuring exactly, but there's plenty of room for 3 people here in the second row. Let's get in the back. Once again, to get in the back, pop the little escape hatch button, and I can hop back here, pull this back. Now, if there was a person sitting in the second row, they would want to recline it, and it is not easy to do from here. I couldn't obviously slide that seat back to let someone else in, so they'd have to reach in like Robin's doing and actually slide it. And here we have the result. My foot can fit in there straight, but just barely. My knee has to turn to the side. The kids can fit in here pretty easily. It could seat one adult just fine if I sit sideways, no problem. Or 2 people with shorter legs like kids. But 2 adults back here would be pretty tight. There are seat belts for both. Hanging back here and hanging back there. And there's a little lever to hold the seat belt. And there are air conditioning vents, one on either side here. And your own little light. Haha. With this seat all the way reclined and all the way back, measuring straight forward, it's about 7 1/4 inches or so to the front of this seat. Not a huge amount, but still, like I said, doable for a kid. I'm gonna hit my escape button, and then I've got my 7 inches of space here to slide through. Works pretty well. Also note that this door is bigger than the back of the R1T door, so you do get a little bit of space to climb in and out here. Just for good measure, the door handle to door handle here is 54.5 inches in the second row. Handle to handle here in the third row is 43 inches. And total distance, if I'm gonna put my queen size mattress in here or something, which is the kind of thing that I do, it's 102.5 inches to this very edge here, 86 inches to the edge of the tailgate. So a lot of space there. And then this back tailgate opening is 49 inches at its widest point, about 38 inches at its smallest point, and 31.5 inches at its tallest point. Sorry, at its lowest height point. There is a little bit more height up here where the windows are. And then there's a pillar in between the two windows in the middle, which then makes it about 31.5 inches here. So here we have this storage space, 42.5 inches between the two tie down points. And this space is about 12 inches deep, maybe 12.5, about 32 inches across. And at its deepest, or at its furthest point here, it's 26.5 inches, but notice that this slopes up a little bit right here. So it would be enough for a spare, but, and some stuff down there for sure. And there's a little tie strap here too. One thing I noticed, if I was sitting in here, let's say I was sleeping in here, which, by the way, I could totally do.
You'd do this leveling thing first, right?
Yeah, that's true. First, I would level this out and put this up on that little ledge, which makes it actually quite nice. And I could fit here with room to spare, even with the tailgate closed. The one thing that's a little awkward is this headliner is just at the wrong spot for me to sit up. It's great here. A person who's not quite as tall as I would have no problem here though. Robin's gonna join me. Oh yeah, Robin's clear on the head.
Sit-ups and everything.
Nice. It's a good trade of size in my opinion. So yeah, you could make a bigger vehicle which would fit more people or more stuff, but if you did that, the outside profile would be bigger, which would make it harder to park, harder to drive around town. So I do like that compromise. It's similar to the R1T. You get that middle sized, which for me is a great option. A couple more things I want to measure here. We have the wheelbase, obviously. Okay, from center to center, 121 inches, give or take an inch or so. And just to measure the entire length here, I mean, this isn't an exact measurement, but it's pretty close to 199, 200 inches. I read online it's 200.8, so my measurement's pretty close. So the other thing that, Rivian's posted a lot of very helpful measurements with the cubic feet and all, but I'm a very visual person, so I like to see these things for myself. And one thing I'm wondering is, will it fit in the garage? Especially, will the height fit in the garage? So measuring to its midpoint here. And remember, this is kind of sloping down a little bit, so it's not exact, but this is 72 inches to here, 75 inches to here, so 72 to 75 inches. If I were to have a rack on top.
What ride height is it in?
It's a 77, good question. The ride height's the middle ride height. Yep, middle ride height. So this is kind of an average position for when I park. Obviously it can go a few inches lower or a few inches higher depending. If I were to have a rack on top, it could go up as much as 7 feet or beyond depending on what's on top of it.
How easy is it to get on and off the rack? Because you don't have the gear tunnel.
Yeah, that is the challenge, right? I mean, if I were to take off this rack, I could lift it like this. With a buddy, could walk it back. I think it'd be pretty easy to do actually. Or I could obviously stand here on the edge of the seat or the doorway and do the same. While I'm up here, I'm going to measure the width from one rack to another, 47 inches. That's from middle to middle of the pin. And this has 3 pairs of brackets to lock the racks into. These first two, 36 inches apart. This middle to the last, 27.5 inches apart. So you would use this third one for something really long. You could move these from here to here. So let's measure that. 64 inches, or sorry, yeah, 63.5 or so from the front rack front bracket to the back bracket. So if you wanted to move just the middle one to the back for like, I don't know, surfboard or something really long, a canoe, kayak, 64 inches there. So pretty good system. I love this rack system on the R1T. Same brackets, of course, for both. And then obviously there's 2 glass windows there and here. And this is the pillar in between. The whole top of the R1S is black. So it's a little bit different than the R1T, which is colored on the top. And then there's this chrome liner across the top of the piece. And what the effect is, though, is that it dampens down the body color a little bit because of this black along the top, in my opinion. So colors like the yellow and the red are not quite so obvious because they have the two-tone black and body color. And of course the frunk, exactly the same as the R1T frunk, which is super handy. For me, at the R1T, I put all my tools in here, but a lot of people do use it different ways. And of course there's a bit that folds down here so that you can put maybe dirtier things underneath, different things up above. Or for me, I just keep this open and I just use it all. So it's great. I like having this little mesh item here to stick sort of loose things here as well. And your one point of maintenance in the whole truck, your windshield wiper fluid. So one last bit is the width. This is going to be a little harder to measure because of the mirrors. Make sure I'm locking this down. So taking my best guess at the actual width spot here.
Including the mirrors?
This is not including the mirrors. I'd say 79 inches there. Including the mirrors, I'm going to call it 92 inches. So the mirror from the window out is 12 inches. From its furthest out point, looks like about 8 or so. So now I'm in the back seat, 12 and a half inches here, 12 or so. That's with this seat positioned where I would put it as a 6-foot person if I were driving. A comfortable, very comfortable position in the front, very comfortable here. Now what I want to measure, as I said, this is 11 and a half to 12 inches. I want to compare that to the R1T. Just so happens we have one right over here. So setting up the front, I mean, it's very similar to my position in the other truck. Remember, this is, give or take an inch or two. And these seats are fixed position, but very similar, but this is 8.5 inches here straight ahead.
And no recline.
And doesn't recline. This is still very comfortable. And remember, this seat is positioned in a way that I would drive it. So that shows you R1S has actually a little bit more space. Once again, here you have this door is a little bit more shallow here, so you could rub your foot or rub your leg coming out, but it's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Don't forget about the gear tunnel.
And besides, you get the gear tunnel as a reward for the R1T. Love it. Overall, this looks to me like a fantastic SUV. I love the size. I love the style of it. I love these headlights. We already know from the R1T that it drives like a banshee. So it's really fun to drive. I guess that this is a little different to drive. I've been told. I haven't driven it yet. That'll come in another video hopefully soon. But because of the shorter wheelbase, it does perform a little bit differently, although the 0 to 60 time is the same, or very close anyway. And since it's a little shorter, turning radius is a little bit better. But overall, I think it's a great vehicle. I'm sure, Robin, you probably agree as well. We talked about this yesterday. You want to give me your thoughts?
I just love it. I want it. I'm coveting the R1S.
One thing that you mentioned yesterday I think is important is that it entertains a different demographic, right?
For sure. I think that this is a carpool machine, right? It can carpool to ski lessons in the mountains, so it's much broader than just your city car, but it's something that would just fit a bunch of kids. I mean, there have been times, fit 4 kids in the back of the R1T because everyone wants to go.
Oh, it's been published on the internet.
Everyone wants to go, and this way you could do it, legally with more kids. So, I mean, we are out past the car seat phase, so that's a different test, I think. But this strikes me as a really great family mobile, and it has the functionality of those 2 third-row seats, but you don't have to use them, and you'd be more comfortable, I think, in a road trip. The kids would be more comfortable in the back seat in a road trip in this because it has that reclining feature. So it's like everything that the R1T is, plus some more comfort features for kids and families, but a little bit less rugged than the R1T for like storing stuff. Throwing a bike in here, you'd have to go on the racks or like jigger things around, whereas in the truck you can just throw in the bike.
One thing about that is that if you threw a bike in the back here, you'd be concerned a little bit about the carpeting in the back.
Yeah.
Whereas in the R1T, which is right over there, you wouldn't. Obviously, you have a bed that can be, is pretty protected. It can even have a spray-in liner or something. But
the bad news is that I feel like we're going to want to keep both. Get the R1S and then keep both, which is
we'll see. That will
which is
be
good and bad news, right?
That will be a decision we'll have to make. But overall, it's a great vehicle. So thanks for watching. That's our little wrap of first impressions of the R1S. And sort of sizing up all the different positions of the seats and so on and the measurements around it. Thanks so much for Rivian and for the people here at this hub to let us sort of tool around. Very gracious, all the folks here. And we'll see you in the next video.